20-year-old Lynette White was found brutally murdered in a flat in James Street in Butte Town.
It was a horrendous murder.
A woman noticed a man who appeared to have blood on his hands.
He must be the prime suspect.
When the police began their investigation, there was pressure on them to find the culprit.
Police have now been interviewing Lynette's boyfriend, 21-year-old Stephen Miller.
I kept saying I was not there.
You were there that night? I was not there.
After 10 months, the pressure was on them to get a result, which is a totally different thing.
They charged 5 men in what would turn out...
How can one white man suddenly turn into 5 black men?
This was a trial surely never to be forgotten.
And you cannot possibly have witnesses like we've got.
Yeah. You stabbed Lynette. Why is she saying this about me?
It's all lies.
It never happened.
When asked for the verdict, the foreman said not guilty.
I've been put in jail for 2 years for a crime I did not commit.
John Actie was then brought to the dock.
Everything echoed round you. Not guilty. Not guilty.
I am bitter. I am broke.
Stephen Miller, Lynette White's boyfriend. The verdict, guilty.
Screaming! Burst out crying.
The judge called Yusuf Abdullahi into the dock. Guilty.
He was on a boat on the Coral Sea in Barry. He was proved by 13 witnesses to be there.
Then it was Anthony Paris's turn. The jury foreman again announced a guilty verdict.
I'm not going home. I'm in jail for life.
Innocent!
Took me down the stairs. Cannot be happening. But it is happening. And it's happening to me. When you've done something and the police are trying to make people think you've done it, that's hard. Because it's hard to fight against these people. They're too big. There's me, stuck inside the jail, looking out the window, looking at my father's flat, and I can see my father's flat. And I used to think to myself, my old man's looking in this direction. He doesn't know I'm looking at the window, but he's looking in this direction. Love my father. He wasn't just my father. He was my friend. And he was everything. That killed me, man. That's the thing that kills you. That makes you want to hurt yourself and, oh, God.
Innocent! Fucking set up. Check me out, bro. Fucking justice will be done, don't worry.
I never thought I was going to do life imprisonment. So you're stuck with 175 lifers. I had 8 terrorists, double murderers, triple murderers, every kind of maniac. I was scared. You can't run nowhere. You can't hide nowhere. If somebody takes a dislike to you, you're in trouble. Every morning that door opens and you use that key rattle it. And I'm thinking, maybe they can let me go now.
I knew I shouldn't be in prison. They fitted up innocent people. The amount of pain, the amount of hurt, the amount of anger. How the F do you handle that? Honestly. Honestly. How do you do that? It's hard even to talk about it now. It's really affecting me.
I did go and see him. I remember telling St. John, get me out of here. That was in Winston Green. I just wanted to get out of jail. Just get me out of here. And that was a horrible visit, because he was really upset, you know. And You know, it was horrible.
Laying on my bed, the moonlight coming through the window, the bars are shining on the wall. Just thinking, if I kill myself now, it's done.
Well, he destroyed my family. My dad is old school. Oh, well, you know, the police are never wrong. I said, Dada, they're human, like everybody else. They make mistakes like everybody else.
I'm angry, and my mother's angry, and all my family's angry. Because it shouldn't have happened.
We used to go every week to visit him. I said, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about nothing. I ain't going to leave you in here. Don't worry. I said, if I got to make noise for the rest of my life, you ain't staying in here.
I know my family ain't leaving me in this place. The police picked on the wrong family, as simple as that. They shouldn't have picked on my lot. They will fight till doomsday for me to get out.
Don't fuss, don't fight. Just try to do what is right. Just do your best, you pass any test.
Lloydie was a reggae singer, sang with a reggae band, and was the brother of Tony Paris.
More paperwork, son. How much more to come over? 6 boxes.
Malik was just the kind of guy who did whatever he needed to do to make ends meet, and his brother Yusuf was also one of those that were convicted.
Me and Malik knew we had to run a campaign. The best campaign ever. We knew that from day one.
They knew their brothers were innocent, and they were absolutely hell-bent on fighting for their freedom, and they were prepared to go to any lengths.
The campaign consumed me and Malik's life totally. We went through all the statements.
In the first trial, Tony Dilla.
Oh, right. There must have had about 2,500 statements. And we went through all of them.
There are racist elements to this case, but we have more legal and points and technical points that carry us through. There is 23,000 pages of unused material. A lot of that could have been used. Also, the 22 statements handed to us 4 months after the case. 19 of them statements were actually witnesses for Tony Paris, and proved and corroborated his evidence. Besides Stephen Miller's confessions, everything is hearsay and uncorroborated evidence.
The whole police case was lies. They never had no evidence at all against the Cardiff Five.
Now, do you say that your brother wasn't capable of being involved in something like this?
Very much so. Same as Tony Paris and Stephen Miller.
You still think there's a killer on the loose?
I really do.
It's a hard slog from any conviction in the Crown Court to the Court of Appeal. There was no legal aid, no money then.
We struggled. We did struggle. Do you know what I mean? Because we had to raise money, you know, to go to London and stuff like that. I wasn't free. None of us was rich. My children used to come home when I wasn't there.
No one was on our side. No one. No one.
Whether we went on a demonstration, whether we went to speak at a local engagement, we never got any positive coverage to support our campaign, as far as I can remember.
Black Bag was the first TV organisation to want to do a programme about the Cardiff Three.
Black Bag was a programme projected to black people for black people on Channel 4.
In tonight's programme, we re-examine the convictions of Yusuf Abdullahi, Tony Paris, and Stephen Miller, and reveal disturbing new evidence which casts doubt on the safety of those convictions.
Black Bag came out of the riots, quite frankly, at the beginning and the middle of the 80s, the so-called race riots.
By Sunday afternoon, the police were on the offensive. Now, the manner of their arrests may well have reinforced many prejudices which exist about them among the blacks.
Before the riots, the mainstream narrative was that there is no problem with racism in this country. Black people have got a chip on their shoulder, it's because they're inadequate. And then the riots came up and all the evidence of the discrimination that young black people were suffering was exposed. And then the idea of institutional racism began to be taken that much more seriously. The Cardiff 3 case was one of a number of cases that highlighted institutional racism. The first film that we did was called Butetown, the Bridge of the Boys. In a way, that title kind of sums up how we felt about that place.
Butetown became world-renowned as Tiger Bay. It is physically detached from the rest of Cardiff. The area contains one of Britain's oldest black settlements. There is also a legacy of stigma.
That bridge in Butetown was like a dividing line. It was kind of, quite clear that you were walking into a place that had been cut off from the rest of the town.
As an outsider looking in, you would automatically think that this is a ghetto. There's no other way of describing it. There was no investments, there was no improvements taking place. The only thing that kept those areas alive was the love of the people that they put in it.
It was Butetown against the rest of the world. Believe me.
The police were describing the Nat White's murder as a ritual murder. Why would these 5 people, most of whom didn't know each other, come together to commit this ritual murder or this sacrifice on this woman who, what was their motive? Why would they do that? Why weren't these ritual murders happening all the time? If it's the way that we behave, people like me behave, why weren't they happening all the time? And why Lynette? Why then? And again, you look at Yusuf Abdullahi. If anyone's got a cast iron alibi, he's got one.
On the night of the murder, Abdullahi claimed to have been working aboard a merchant ship, the Coral Sea, some 8 miles away in Barry. This was confirmed by 13 independent witnesses.
He would have had to have a cape on his back that allowed him to fly from the Coral Sea, commit that murder, and then fly back without anyone seeing him. It was obvious, it was manifestly obvious that he wasn't involved.
Yusuf Abdullahi, Tony Paris, and Stephen Miller have appealed against their life sentences. As yet, no date has been set for the appeal.
Black Bag was a program projected to black people for black people and was on a smaller style station which was on Channel 4. We needed the people of power, the people of influence to start listening. It was absolutely imperative that we was able to escalate to a higher level.
You can't tell us to be still no more. We'll never shut up.
One of my colleagues in my committee, they found a piece of a magazine thing where Al Sharpton was supposed to be coming to this country.
We're walking with 400 years of rage locked up in our pussy.
So we jumped on Al's carriage.
We'll never back down. We'll never bow our heads in shame again.
He was involved in cases like this in America for many, many years.
He's fully aware of what the colour of a man's skin means where justice is concerned.
What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
I said, he got to be there because he will bring the world's media.
The Reverend Al Sharpton arrived at Heathrow today, claiming the Western world is on the verge of racial uprising unless it heals injustices against black people.
Until you can give justice to people like the Cardiff 3, there can be no healing.
Bringing Reverend Al Sharpton over here was a massive coup. We'd arrived. Our campaign had actually arrived.
Flanked by his ever-present bodyguards, the Reverend Sharpton joined more than 300 supporters of the Cardiff 3 campaign.
It was a stage made for me, so to speak, you know. But to be able to go out there and lead the marches, to be shouting and screaming out, "What do you want? What do you want?"
The march went from the docks to town by the jailhouse.
Pausing briefly to pray outside Cardiff Prison for Yusuf Abdullahi, Tony Paris and Stephen Miller.
I'm laying there in my cell, and I could hear this noise outside over the wall. And then my door opens, people come running in, "Tony, Tony, man, your brother's out there, Al Sharpton's out there, calling your name." How can my brother organise that and the boys? My people ain't leaving me in jail.
Reverend Sharpton, what was the point of saying
We had a silent moment of prayer with the family. The three families are seeking justice, and the family had a private prayer to ask God to show mercy on a cruel and wicked system that has unfairly incarcerated a member of their family.
What do you say that this presence is inflammatory outside the prison?
Well, I think that if prayer is inflammatory, then you'd have to take that up with Jesus, not me.
That was good. That was powerful. That was powerful. Yeah.
After Al Sharpton came to Cardiff, it opened the campaign wide open.
After the longest murder trial in British history, 3 men were sentenced to life imprisonment. But growing controversy surrounds the case, fueled by persistent allegations that the police investigation may have been flawed.
I've never found an investigation so easy to do, because every time you pulled an apple out of the barrel, the apple was rotten. Everything we looked at was rotten.
3 key witnesses all came forward at the same time. They were a prostitute and close friend of the murdered girl, Leanne Vilday, Angela Pasila, another prostitute, and Mark Gromick, a petty criminal who lived in the flat above the dead woman.
I found it very odd that Vilday and Pasila told me to get lost.
Why don't you want to talk to us? All right. Thank you anyway, Miss Pasila. Thank you.
I thought there could only be one reason for that. They were guilty of not telling the truth.
Of the 3 witnesses, the most important was Leanne Vilday. Vilday claimed that she and Pasila had heard Lynette's screams in their flat across the road and had run the 70 yards to the house. We decided to put this claim to scientific test. We invited an actress into the murder flat. Highly sensitive listening equipment was then taken the 70 yards over the road and into the 3rd floor flat. Even with the flat window open, the scream was barely audible.
It was clearly a lie. Every time we tested the evidence in this case, we found it wanting. It was clear that these men were innocent. Let me just say something here. I think when you frame a man for murder, you commit murder yourself. Because you sentence him to a lifetime in prison, and you do worse than that, you let the real murderer go.
It was just targeted, looked upon past history and used that to get us and exploit us to the media on the way we lived and where we were from. I believe the person who committed this crime is still at large.
18 months went past. Then 2 years went past. Then 2.5 years went past. Then 3. I said to myself, there is no way they're going to leave me in here for 15 fucking years when I done effing nothing.
I can remember there's a piece in the Guardian, I think, and there's all these photographs. And with our campaign to excuse my face, I can remember I called the governor down, and he comes in my cell, sits on my bed, he don't even lock the door. He said, "Oh, Mr. Paris, I've heard about you. Then he says to me, Lord Taylor have just been made Lord Justice Taylor, and he's going to have a meeting with him, and he's going to mention us. When he went there, tears in my eyes, I'm thinking to myself, everybody ain't bad out there. There's good people out there who will help you if they can help you and do the right thing.
Tony had to come to the hospital with a prison warden to say goodbye to my dad.
He was my father, my friend. He was everything, everything. I said, Dad, it's me, Dad. Don't worry, it'll be okay. But it still hurts. And my dad died, and he wasn't able to see Tony outside without no police officer or jailhouse officer pulling on an handcuff or some stupidness. Take my word for it, that's what killed my old man, heartbroken. They took his boy away, said he did something he didn't do, and we know it.
I don't think we believed that the appeal was a done deal. I think it gave us more hope.
And their trials and their successes. Now it is a time of the innocent black and white victims of miscarriages of justice throughout their days.
Because of their dedication and commitment, they were able to get people involved. The cherry on top was the involvement of Michael Mansfield.
My sister, she says, Steve, I'm going to get you out. Furthermore, I've had good news. Have you heard of a guy called Michael Mansfield? And I says, no. So I say, is he good?
Michael Mansfield had a reputation as being a maverick.
I've practiced in civil rights law in a sense, but criminal law for, well, too long probably, 55 years, so a long time. So I've had a lot of experience, and I was involved in the Tottenham 3, Birmingham 6 and so on. Now this is important, because there's a context that has to be understood. Confessions and confession evidence at one time was regarded by the judges and the courts as the best evidence, because why would anybody want to say anything that's called an against interest statement? But people actually do confess to things they don't want to, sometimes quite voluntarily, but other times, if you feel there's no way out, and you have that borderline IQ. But it was in that context that a statute was passed to prevent this. It's called the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, 1984, so just 4 years before Lynette White was so terribly murdered. So the provisions of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act were to protect the interviewee, so that they would be assessed for things like, borderline IQ. So the police would know the kind of person they're dealing with. Secondly, to ensure that they were tape recorded, which of course this was. Little difference did it make.
The date is the 7th of December of 1988. This interview is being tape recorded.
So I always believe you have to go back yourself and examine the evidence.
The number is 1526.
And I started listening to the tapes that relate to Stephen Miller's interview process.
You were leaning over the body.
I was not leaning over
by the window.
Because I wasn't there.
You were there.
I was not there.
Now, these are interviews that take place over 5 days.
Saying that you were there.
And there are 19 interviews. 13 hours. And he denied being involved over 300 times. But they wouldn't have it.
They could lock me up for 50 billion years. I said I was not there.
Because you don't want to be there.
No, I was not there.
You don't want to be there.
I was not there.
If you
and the more I listened and the more I heard what was happening, the more incensed I can remember feeling.
I was not there.
You were there.
I was not there.
You've told us a pack of everything we've said to you of witnesses and all. And
so how do you know they're not lying? How do you know they're not lying?
Why should they lie?
Why should I lie?
Why should they lie?
Why should I lie?
Why should they lie? Because they want the whole truth coming out of this terrible, awful crime.
I mean, if they do this on a tape, God knows what they do off a tape.
You were there at the terrible murder of your so-called girlfriend.
Not there.
And you couldn't care tuppence about
as far as I'm concerned, I'm not doing no bread for nobody, right? I told you already. I'm not committing to nothing what I haven't done when I know I wasn't there.
What happened here was horrendous. He's vulnerable, Stephen Miller. He has a borderline IQ, which means he's aged, possibly mental age 10 to 11, reading age 9. But the extraordinary thing about the interviews was there was somebody there. There was somebody called a solicitor. I'm not going to name the person, but he wasn't there for the first 2 interviews, but he was for the remaining 17.
Something that say it positively.
The extraordinary thing is, he virtually said nothing. You might have had a mouse in the corner for all the good it did. It may sound very straightforward now to describe all this, and you think, well, of course you're going to win that. No. We entered the Court of Appeal often believing we weren't going to win. However, I thought, once I can get this out, very few ordinary human beings, of which the Lord Chief Justice was one, are going to think that this is a fair way of interrogation.
I can remember travelling down on the first day of the Court of Appeal, the whole minibus full of us, and in this big, huge, prestigious building. I'd never been in it before, and it was definitely white. There was absolutely nothing black about that Court of Appeal, I can tell you that.
I met Mike Mansfield in the cafeteria in the appeal courts, and he was telling us a little bit of the strategy stuff.
And that's when he first mentioned that he was going to be using tape 7. And you've got to remember that tape 7, only a small bit was played in the original trial. But this was going to be the first time that we were all going to hear that tape in its entirety. And believe you me, when that tape was played, you could hear a pin drop. It was silent in court.
I'm under pressure. You lot don't realise I'm under pressure.
You're under pressure?
Now I've come back down here. You lot are giving me pure pressure, right? You're not saying that I was there, and I know I wasn't there. And that's all I've got to say. I've got nothing else to say.
But you were there.
I wasn't there. As that was then, I got nothing else to say.
You were there because the admin said you were there.
My statement, what I gave to Inspector Powell, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't know anything. I don't know nothing. I'm a 22-year-old sitting down in the police station. They put me in this room and just started flinging things at me. Allegations after allegations after allegations. I mean...
No, I did not say that. I said I don't know if I stayed at closing time.
Side on the door? Well, nobody going in or out because he's a big bugger. He was there. He was trying the door.
No.
He was trying to get in to see who was there for you.
No.
There was Dollar there.
No. That's wrong.
There's Ronnie Actie there.
That's wrong.
It's not wrong.
That is wrong.
It's not wrong. Look at me.
That is wrong.
It's not wrong. Look at me.
That is wrong.
It's not wrong.
They said the most disgraceful things. I mean, I would not do it with my worst enemy. I mean, it was terrible. Terrible.
When it's gone too far, people have panicked.
Why? No. Why should I do something to my girl?
I am not saying that you have done anything to your girl. What I'm saying to you...
Or somebody is trying to fix me up.
Nobody's trying to fix you up.
They are. That's what it boils down to. I was not in the flat.
Well, why should they pick you out of a hat?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't know.
Because they're 100% accurate.
I don't know.
I probably slept about 7 hours, 5 days. The rest of the time I was just sitting down looking at the ceiling. Tears come down to my eyes. Wondering why am I here?
Oh, you could sit there and say that, being in that room, seeing that girl there in the state she was in, and you were supposed to have had all this wonderful care for her, seeing her damn head hang off, and her arms cut, and stabbed to death, and you sit...
They just kept driving me day in, day out, day in, day out. And you're sitting there saying that you wasn't there, and that the girl is half hanging off, her head's half hanging off.
I just don't know how you can sit there. I really don't.
I was not there.
Seeing that girl, your girlfriend, in that room that night, like she was. I just don't know how you can sit there and say it. You were there that night. Together with all the others, you were there that night.
They would have sorted it.
And you sit there and say...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm far as I'm saying, right? I might have been there. I think I was there.
You think you were there?
I think I was there.
I just said, you know what? I was there. I put my hands on myself there. Just told them what they wanted to hear. I'm positive 3 times, right?
Right. So you're certain, as far as you're concerned, the persons you saw stab Lynette White were Tony Paris,
yeah,
and Della.
Yeah.
How many times did you see them stab him?
Well, Tony stabbed her about 4 or 5 times. Della must have done it about, what, another 5, 6, I don't know.
You can imagine how frightened I felt? How confused?
You can feel it. He's so tired, we can see what they've done. It's plain as a nose on your face what they did to that boy and how they broke him down and mashed up his head.
Are you convinced yourself now that we've worked this out?
Yeah,
You're convinced yourself?
Yeah, I know it. It's true. There's nothing up to it. It's fucking true, man. This fucking Tuesday, man, ever said, man. This is true. This is my fucking life, man.
Yeah, you're right.
Fucking hell, boy.
All right. All right, calm down. Calm down. All right.
There was a little boy crying out. He had no support. He had no defense, and he had no help.
Stephen, I can see the state you're in. I'm sorry for you again. I'm sorry for you all the way through. I think you trust us, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
We've got to be able to walk out of here now. We have got to be able to say to every other officer investigating every other person that we now know the truth.
That's the fucking truth, man. I ain't got nothing to say. That's the fucking truth.
I felt like a prisoner of war. That's how I felt like. They just took me off the streets. Said I done this. Hold on, can you cut?
During the 40-minute judgment, the Lord Chief Justice criticised South Wales police officers for the oppressive manner in which they'd interviewed Stephen Miller. Lord Taylor said the tape showed obvious oppression, and had the judge in the original trial heard it, he was sure he would have ruled it inadmissible as evidence. Short of physical violence, it's hard to conceive of a more hostile and intimidating approach by officers to a suspect.
He could not believe it. And he said in terms that he never wanted to see something like this happen in the courts again.
Michael Mansell stood up. My lord, can my client leave? Mr. Miller, I apologise, you're free to go. Tony's Paris' barrister stand up. What about my own? He's free to go. I just looked at Tony and me, we just hold each other like this, squeezing each other's hand like this. And we looked at Della, and they says, what about Mr. My client? He's free to go. You guys are free to go. I apologise.
We went up out of the chair. We went up. I'm going out the door. I don't... They might change their mind. I'm running. I want to run out of there, man.
Freedom! This way. Let's pass, please. Let's pass. Stephen, what will you do when you get...
Come on, give us some space, please.
The press conference ain't civilised. Give them some space. What's the matter with you? Give them some space, please.
Give us some space.
I was in my house and everybody was screaming, Rosie, Rosie. I said, well, Tony's out. What do you mean? And then they said, put the telly on, put the telly on. He put the telly on, me and my mother. And there he was coming out with my brother Lloydie.
Come on.
Cardiff 3 just been free. Da, 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 da. I go, yes! I'm so happy. Brilliant. And the next minute, there's all like press outside my house, and yeah.
I'm happy. I'm really happy. I've been waiting for this day a long time, and I'm happy.
And did you ever think it would happen?
Yeah. I knew they'd let him out.
I never doubted once that my brother would not come out of prison. They tried to break us, but they didn't. They did. They tried to rip us down. It showed me that this community is strong.
Cardiff 3 are free. What's the matter with you? Can't see them. You can have as many.
South Wales police are evil.
No justice!
Evil beyond belief.
I've been so scared in my life. I've been 4 years in a little room, and then everybody's trying to grab you.
Fucking justice, man! Injustice, man!
Come on. Come on.
Get him out!
And we've been fighting and screaming for 4 years. I've been screaming for days in the police station, trying to tell them everything I know. I don't know nothing. But they ain't listening. They're accusing me, telling me they know. They weren't interested in what I had to say.
I was treated rotten. I had no rights whatsoever. Now, they say when you're in a police station, you're supposed to have rights. They broke all the rules. They lied to me. They put me through sheer hell.
It was a mixture of everything. Hate, pain, regret, knowing that I could have done something for Lynette.
We were just basically used as scapegoats for the police who couldn't find anything else or anybody else to put this crime on.
They don't care about nothing or anybody as long as the book is clean and they can say, we've cleaned up all these cases.
Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, my God.
Oh, God. Oh. Yeah.
It was party time in the Butetown area of Cardiff last night as 2 of the 3 men came home from London.
Freedom! Freedom!
Yeah, my mother's happy and my sister's happy. And everybody's glad I'm home.
I'm happy tonight. You know, earlier on when they said he's coming, I said no. You know when I believe he's coming? Is when I see him come through that door. That's when I believe he's home, yeah. Right? That's when I believe. I was really upset, but I'm happy now because he's out, because I knew he was going to come out.
I've been telling everybody for the 2 years I've been out here that he was innocent. A lot of people didn't want to believe me or, want to listen to what the papers were saying, what the police were saying. No lies.
What does it mean, the Court of Appeal's judgment of quashing the conviction? Well, the one thing it doesn't mean is that you're innocent. They're not finding you not guilty. What they're saying is there's a flaw in the trial, basically. So that means you can walk a free man or woman, but, of course, it hasn't entirely cleared you. The problem with that is that police forces, if they feel they've got the right man, are not going to back down.
Regrettably, I think that the criminal justice system at the present time is hell-bent on leaving victims suffer and letting villains tread all over them. It's a sorry state of affairs, and I feel very sorry for the British public at large at the present time.
The ultimate feeling after the Court of Appeal hearing was sheer disappointment, because whilst the 3 of them were now at liberty, the reality is that none of the police practices, the police wrongdoing, had been exposed, and the police at that stage were able to say, oh well, they've got off, but it's a technicality only. We're not looking for anyone else because, nod nod, wink wink, we've got the right people.
We know there is a killer still out there. We know it's not our boys, and we will prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt.
That's the only thing on my mind now. For once they catch the right person, and the right person's gone down for this crime, and Lynette could rest in peace, and her family could have a clear mind about us.
So without someone from the public coming forward, you're saying there's nothing you can do?
Effectively, I mean, what we're looking for is further evidence.
They say mud sticks, do you know what I'm saying? And, we're stuck.
And one lady that I've known all my life said that, oh, well, there's no smoke without fire. And at the end of the day, somebody just don't turn into a murderer unless you've done something to him. Well, what did they do to Lynette White? They didn't do anything to her because he wasn't there.
see, you plant that seed and people out there, yeah, they done it, why would South Wales Police lie? It's just terrible. You know, being classed as a murderer. This used to be my house many years ago. Hello, my friend. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, this was my house here. I used to live here. And then everything broke down. Family life went completely out of the window. And then there was one night I was sitting in here, in my living room. I heard a knock on the door. I've come out. I hear someone saying, John, John. I looked out of the window, and then you had Lynette White's father outside with a shotgun, pointing at my front door. I thought, oh my God, this guy's trying to kill me. The front door's open, it's not even locked. The lock wasn't even on. And all he had to do was open the door. I was there. I was dead.
In 1999, South Wales Police, I'm sure to their eternal regret, invited in 2 Lancashire officers to cold case review Lynette White.
People in the force still thought that those who were arrested were those responsible. There was a real divide. There was real hostility towards there being another investigation. And what struck me very, very early on, there was so little direct evidence towards the original guys. I couldn't put them at the scene. Forensically, there was nothing.
5 men originally charged with the murder of Lynette White have been told their DNA doesn't link them with the crime scene.
Other than 4 vulnerable, questionable witnesses, there was no evidence otherwise. Clearly it wasn't this young man. He had his profile. His dad was dead, but his uncle was still alive. And that was Geoffrey Cafour.
Please state your full name and date of birth.
Geoffrey Charles Gafford, 28th of the 5th, 65.
The reason for this interview is because you have been arrested for the murder of Lynette White.
Just after 10:30, Geoffrey Gafford stood in the dock as the murder charge was read out to him. There were gasps and cries from a packed public gallery as his voice rang out across court number 2. Guilty, he said.
This was always a punter murder, a client. It was always a punter. But the thought of 5 people and Vilde and Poseidon taking part in a ritual killing, when you think about it, is almost unbelievable, which of course it was.
A punter, you know, you can't do what you got to do. Don't want to do it, want his money back. He don't give me his money back. And this goes from bad to worse.
You murdered someone over £30 because what? Why didn't you just leave her with the £30? That's not a lot of money.
Geoffrey Cafour. Ooh, he's a monster.
His barrister told the court how he was ashamed and sorry. But for the innocent men who were originally convicted, they were just empty words. How bitter did you feel towards him looking at him in the dock?
Well, I didn't want to go in it because I would have ripped his head off.
Why did these officers not do a proper job?
I think today
is about the conviction of the man who killed Lynette White.
Is there going to be an apology into the way the first police officers treated us, set us up on purpose? Are you prepared, sir, to take care of it?
The Chief
to
Constable
clear your
will address
name?
that in due course.
To
Thank you
clear
very
your
much.
name? Well, I went and they really to say, we get an apology. I'm not asking for nothing outrageous. You know, what's going on to the police officers?
I'm sorry that they went to prison for something they didn't do. Hopefully the majority of the public will see us for what we are.
I don't think anyone in South Wales ever thought the real killer would be found. But that was the only competent piece of police work in the whole sorry saga, to be quite frank with you. They clearly weren't telling the truth and didn't tell the truth. What motive would they have to lie? How did it come about that they told those lies and were prepared to go through that hell? That's the question to be answered.
I remember it was a very tragic time in her life. She was forced to sign statements that she'd never even read. She had a very, very low IQ. She couldn't read, she couldn't write.
You know now, of course, that she, along with her co-defendants, told terrible lies, which directly resulted in innocent people being imprisoned. Did she tell you why she told those lies?
She did, yes. She's told me she was forced to sign a statement and tell those lies, coerced by the police. It was easy for them to make her believe something, meaning that she was interrogated to the point of being broken. And the words she used in court, they're words that wouldn't come out of her mouth. She has a heart of gold. She's not racist at all. She grew up in a very multicultural family.
She went to prison for 18 months. What effect would you say that the experience of the original court case and her imprisonment has had on her and her life?
She's just a shell of a person. She's become a very lonely person.
My hate for them went a long time ago because I know what they done to them. They got bullied. Same as Miller got bullied. Same as they bullied us. We all got bullied. I know the policemen don't lie. I know the threat they put the young lads under, threatening their kids to put them in the homes. And you know what they do to black kids in the homes, don't you? These are babies. These girls don't know that. They might be working girls, but what? They don't know about pressure. And what? We're supposed to hate them? No, who wants hate? I can't do that. Well, I don't care what anybody thinks. That's just me. It's not fair.
In court, on behalf of Leanne Vilday, and I'm just going to read it out to you because I don't want to miss anything. I said to the judge, the sheer wickedness and dishonesty of the police and the remorseless systemic corruption in this case is difficult to believe, but it's true beyond a doubt, and it is accepted by the prosecution. It would be an utter scandal if no police officers were brought to trial and conviction. Documents that were relevant were not disclosed because, as the judge was told, they had been shredded.
But what happened, I think, is strange. I think it's only a matter of weeks, 2 weeks later, they find the documents. Well, am I mad or not?
It was all right for them to fucking throw that out, you know, with evidence. Do you know what I mean? With evidence. But our case had no fucking evidence, but they didn't throw that out.
I joined the police force in the mid-90s, so it was after a series of miscarriages of justice, of which this case was one. In this case, you know, I have to recognise the Cardiff 3 and the 5 originally arrested as victims. It is, of course, important to say there are lots of other people tragically affected by this case, individuals who were involved in the investigation, individuals who were witnesses. I'm sorry for the effect. that the actions of South Wales Police collectively and the criminal justice system had on the 5 who were arrested. You know, I'm sorry for the effect that it's had on their lives. The organisation, its professionalism, its candour is different now than it was. I think every age has its own challenges, and our expectations now about the way we conduct ourselves and our investigations are not only so very different, but they're also exposed to so much more scrutiny. And I really do think it is a time for listening, but it's also a time for acting. It's a time for the whole of the public sector and the whole of wider society to recognise that racism is still very real in our communities, and to recognise that the disadvantage experienced through the criminal justice system, particularly by black communities, is real and present and stands to be addressed. But we have a unique responsibility. We carry extraordinary powers, and so I would expect, and I know that will remain a huge focus for South Wales Police.
You know, I'm not a bad person. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, so I mean, why they want me off the street for the rest of my life, I don't know. I'd love to know why, you know. I'd like to know all those reasons. One day they'll come out. They'll come out. And everybody will know. Everybody.
I think for maybe the first year or two, Ronnie was okay, but after he'd split up with his girlfriend, the mother of his child, he had a flat, he lost the flat. And that's when he stayed in a shed. He lived in a shed for 7 years. And he went into a deep depression.
Totally ruined my life. Totally ruined my life, my family. I basically got nothing left.
Yusuf initially wanted to be an active campaigner. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to fight for other people. He was still talking about other people that he'd left behind in prison, who he knew was innocent. He died alone. He died a recluse. His life had been turned upside down through this horrific event.
We've had trials, we've had court cases, we've had everything over 20, 30 years. And we never come to a conclusion in the end. The only conclusion we come to is Kafar was the killer on his own, and the other conclusion was the police got off. It's got to have been one of the worst miscarriages of justice of British history. And they've walked and walked out of this case like they haven't done nothing, like the pats on their back.
Have you ever used the phrase with slavery, where the chains are gone, but you're still in bondage, we still got chains on us? So it looks like we're free, but we're not. That's the reality. That's true, the way I see it. We're not free.
You see now, I don't trust anybody.
I've got a really bad trust issue now. Do you know what I mean? I just feel lost. I think that this case is cursed. Absolutely cursed. 30 years this has been going on. And now, where's the justice for us?
I think the question of accountability in this case rests with the force as an organisation, with its senior leadership. And we will never bring back Lynette White, and often in this case, it's a real cause for sadness that Lynette's name gets used as shorthand sometimes for all of these events, and we're sometimes likely to forget, we could forget, that was a young woman whose life was lost.
Poor Lynette, God rest her soul. Poor Lynette, God rest her soul.